How's it hanging, everybody? My name's DeadFox.
I'm Dominic Jordon.
My name is Bastian Hill.
I'm Brendan.
My name is Tyler Critchlow.
My name is Fabricio Perez.
Hello, I'm Dahson Arave, the writer, director, as well as playing Lucas Elrod in the film of Three Left Turns.
I did all the lighting, continuity, and the props for Three Left Turns.
I'm the cinematographer and editor for Three Left Turns.
I am the assistant director, co-writer, and I play Arthur in Three Left Turns.
I'm a producer for Three Left Turns, part-time cook, full-time hooligan.
And I'm the composer for the upcoming film Three Left Turns.
And I star as Gabriel Garcia in Three Left Turns.
This is Marlon Dean.
All right, I'm going to start with our first question. We're going to talk about the story a little bit, so I'm going to start with our director and the writer of the story. So, Dawson, if you could give us your initial thoughts on the story, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so my initial thoughts was when we were recording, or filming, Arenda, I had a bunch of ideas that were coming to me, and I was really only speaking with to Bash just a little bit. But I had a set idea for what I was wanting, and so right after we were done filming, it just kind of went wild in January, which was last year. And yeah, so my initial thoughts was, I wanted something where we were kind of having two different worlds that you never see together in one. And I think we did a really good job at doing that, implementing that, and everybody's going to be seeing it here shortly. But that was my initial thought, is I wanted two different worlds that I was really intrigued with and wanted to do a film on, and combine them and see what we could do with it. And I thought we did a really, really good job. So,
okay. Speaking of two different worlds, let's hear from the crew side, because we have actors over here. Let's talk to the crew. Speaking of a separate world, let's hear from Dom. What was it like coming from the crew side, dealing with the technical side of everything? What are your initial thoughts on the story?
So pretty much it was trying to figure out how to read Dawson's mind on this, of what his vision was for the film. Just trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to light this? How are we going to shoot this? What different things are we going to need for it? Are we going to need a drone for this? Whatever kind of gear that we need in there. It was just figuring out, okay, how are we going to make this happen? Because my thing was I wanted to make the best possible thing that I could with this film. And it was just figuring out those technical sides of it, watching a bunch of films, just different directors, movies that he mentioned that inspired the film, to try to get like an idea and understand where he's coming from with this and how to just shape that vision.
Okay. Coming from the soundtrack, how did the soundtrack fit up? Your initial thoughts on the story, Mr. Composer, where did you fit everything together?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like my first thoughts are like, it's dark and it's relatable as a result. You know, these are human characters, and you're screaming at the character watching the film like, you know, don't do this, why would you do that? But that's life, and that's how life plays out. So from my point of view, I was just trying to keep things organic and, you know, real in that sort of relatable sense, I guess.
Okay. Switching back over to the actors, Bastian, you had probably one of the most difficult roles to represent and to bring to the show. What are your thoughts on the story, your initial thoughts on the whole process?
Initial thoughts on the story. Again, kind of like how Ty said, it's very relatable. I, of course, am not anything like Arthur, the character that I played, but there are little tidbits of me in there. And when I initially heard about the story, I knew right away that I had to do it. I had to do whatever it took to get to that point. Dropping weight, being dark, being quiet, everything. The storyline as a whole, one of my favorites that Marlon Dean has come out with.
Okay, sure. Fabricio, do you echo that? What are your thoughts on the initial story? How did it feel coming in?
So for me, I've never lived anything out of like in that world. So it was cool bringing in as an actor, coming in and living another person's life and the way they live in that world. And it was cool actually like portraying my character, because it brings emotion and it brings a lot of stuff that you will see in real life with friends and stuff like that.
Okay. And DeadFox, coming from the lighting side of things, do you have some input on your initial thoughts of the story coming through this process?
Well, really the initial thought was like, okay, how the hell am I going to do this, right? Because it was like, we had some stuff that we had to do with emulating streetlights. We had to make it look like it was bright and sunny, when it was actually like midnight almost. So it was fun to see how we all kind of like, because I didn't do it alone. Like I was leading the lighting side and the continuity and props and all that stuff, but I had a lot of people helping me the whole time. Like I had these guys helping me. Dahson stepped in every once in a while. Bash stepped in every once in a while. But initially, it was interesting to kind of put it together because I think really technically about that kind of stuff. So it was really interesting to see, like, okay, when I was thinking about it originally, how was I going to do this? And it was completely different than how I did it. So it was fun though.
Okay. Going back into the rehearsal process, Dom, as the cinematographer, talking specifically about the rehearsal process, do you feel like the rehearsal process thoroughly prepared you for what we went through? What are some of your thoughts leading up to filming, how all that went?
Well, yeah. So during the time, so while I was in the rehearsal process, I made sure to work on my craft while all the actors were trying to nail the lines, get the delivery down. My thing was, it's like, okay, where is this camera going to be placed? Let me work on framing, how different angles we're going to get with them, just see what would work, what wouldn't work. And what I did was I had my Fujifilm camera with me every single time we did rehearsals, so I could capture just different angles and variations of the actors and everything, but also on top of that, just realistically researching different techniques, different cinematographers to take inspiration from, and just envelop myself into that world and just be more just engrossed in it so I can be able to portray that in the best way possible.
Okay. Moving on to Bash, again, you talked about how it was representing a character so vastly different from who you are, and we'll dig into that a little more, but how do you feel like the rehearsal process prepared you for the role you stepped into and everything you went into going up to filming?
I'd say the most important part of the entire rehearsal process, aside from dropping the weight and looking the part, was the accent. That was so hard to do, and thankfully Dahson and I are generally always on the same page with everything. And when you're speaking, when you're trying to come up with a voice that is unique and fits the character, it's very, very hard when you're saying the words yourself. You can't really hear yourself speak, right? So aside from recording myself and going through that process and listening back, I always had Dahson there every step of the way to, bro, that's not it, bro, that's not it, bro, that's not it, every single night for a year. And finally we got it, finally it clicked. But it was extremely difficult, and there's never enough rehearsal time. There's really never enough. So you figure a lot of things out on set and under pressure. I perform very well under pressure, I think. That's where I learn the most, and I can do my job the best, right, is under pressure. So
Yep.
Rehearsal, phenomenal. Could we have had more time? Yes, but I wouldn't change anything about it at all.
I'm actually going to go take it next. So with what he was saying, I totally agree. There's never enough rehearsal time that you could truly get without just stepping into the fire and actually trying it from there. Because a big thing that we were talking about during the rehearsal process, because it was really, really long. There was a lot of long days, a lot of long nights with actors and talking with crew and getting everybody on the same page. I think we had a total of 8 months for acting rehearsals, if I'm not mistaken, before we ended up actually filming. A lot of these actors are first-time actors, and so we wanted to make sure that they were fully prepared, and I thought they were, and they did a great job. But one thing we were always telling them was, it's tough. Filming is tough, and people don't. I really, if you've never filmed before, people really have no idea how tough filming actually is. They don't believe it when when we say it. They think, oh, we're just messing around. Filming is tough, right? So you got to do everything you can to make sure you're ready for it. And I thought with rehearsals, I thought we did plenty with acting. Obviously, crew, I wish we would have even done more. But you live and you learn. And with the next one, we're going to know what to do better. But anyways.
All right, I'm going to switch gears real quick, and we'll go back to Fabricio. Ty, as the composer, obviously you went through a little bit of a different rehearsal process, considering a lot of the work you're doing is refining things and fitting it up after the fact. Mm-hmm. How did your experience differ? Do you feel that the rehearsals prepared you for what you were going into with the soundtrack?
For sure. And my initial statement, I'm going to direct directly to the audience, but Of course you have to rehearse. It's absolutely ludicrous to think of not rehearsing to do this kind of thing. No amount of rehearsal will prepare you for the chaos that is filming. We're not necessarily rehearsing for the film because you can't plan on chaos. You can't plan for the unexpected. What we're rehearsing is trusting each other and picking each other's minds and knowing how we need to either we either need to help each other or help an individual while filming because it's nuts and it's crazy. So for me, as far as how that helped me with, composing the film, it was such a tough 9 days of filming. You take those emotions and you go home and you process all of that. And God willing, that emotion makes its way onto the music.
Okay.
But I was going to say with that too, he brought to my attention, if we didn't have the rehearsals like we did and trained as hard as we did, for those actors to be as prepared as they were, we would have had just the worst time trying to get everything done.
The bar would be set much lower as well. The bar would be set much lower.
Absolutely.
I do have a quick follow-up for Dawson talking about the rehearsal process and how that prepared everyone. Really quick thoughts on some of the bigger iterations, pivots that you had to make between rehearsals and the actual game time.
So luckily enough, this is what I'll say. With acting, there wasn't really any big pivots. Maybe I added a line or I added this. That's what we're so thankful for, is we had the actors so well rehearsed, and we'll have him speak here in a second of how tough it was for him especially. But we had them so well rehearsed that when we were going through, certain shots that you guys will see, we had, police looking at us all weird and having to get the shot done, or the water levels rising, and we never had an issue with the actors.
There was some urgency.
Right,
The
it was
technical side and the crew side.
Right, yeah, it was the crew trying to get things going, which again we can't prepare. Now we know, right? We learn, but as a crew, I mean, we didn't know the police would be looking at us on certain shots where we had to get the shot down, or we didn't know that there was be flooding, right, in April. Like we didn't expect that. Now we know to expect more hazards like that. But if the actors weren't as prepared as they were, it would have been it would have been a lot harder than what it was.
Okay,
Yeah,
speaking
it would
of
have been chaos
actors,
for sure.
I do want to hear from Fabricio. Being as you were the sole person here that wasn't involved with the crew as much as everyone else was, what was your process like in terms of rehearsals? Do you feel like it thoroughly prepared you? Dawson's saying a lot of things about the actors being really well prepared, and I love it, but I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I came in late to the game. I came in, 2 months before, something like that?
3 months, yeah,
3 months
give or
before,
take.
So I had way short time to rehearse than everyone had. But I gotta thank these two for helping me, and also my accent. I have a really tough accent, so I had to fix my accent to more English and then bring that to the more hood accent,
Okay.
that we had to for the movie.
Okay.
So I gotta thank them for helping with that.
Are you done?
Sure.
I just want to say Fabricio did a phenomenal job. He had his own day of the week where we just would hammer him, right? We did screaming drills where I would yell at him and he had to yell back at me, and we went through every emotion.
Well, that's because
with
he
his
was
accent.
such a Fabricio. People don't know Fabricio is a very he doesn't yell. He's
Timid.
he's a timid guy, and so that's why we were having him have to yell and get some anger out, because his character in the film can be somewhat of a dick at times, right? And we needed him to have that. And anyways, yeah. So what Bash was having him do, but I actually have a question for Fabricio. And Fabricio, was there at any point during rehearsals where you were like, shit, I think I'm in over my head? Is there any point?
What do you mean by?
Was it?
Did you
was
ever want
it
to back
tough?
out? Were you ever just,
Because it was
these
so
guys
tough.
are too much?
No. I never went to back out, but I did had a lot of
Reflection.
doubting myself, and a lot of I was like, I'm not good enough for this. What am I doing? I would talk about it myself, but
That's healthy as an
Never.
actor.
Yeah, every actor
Never
Makes
wanted
you
to back
perform
out.
better.
Let's move over to the other side of the aisle and really quickly wrap this question up. DeadFox, same question. Obviously, being with the crew, you were pretty heavily involved in rehearsals through the process. What are your thoughts on how rehearsals prepared you guys on the technical side of the film for everything that you went through, obviously knowing the challenges that you guys faced during filming?
Well, I think the thing that we don't really talk about a lot is like getting everything coordinated to do rehearsals. So I was the one who set up the Discord server for us. I got all of that coordinated and everything so we could actually have a place to rehearse, and we didn't have to make a Zoom call every time because that's what we were doing originally. And we only had what was it, Doss? Like 30 minutes before the call cut out?
Mm-hmm.
When we did Zooms?
It'd be 45 minutes, and then you would
Then
have
we'd
to,
have to start another call.
and I'd have to tell everybody, like, hold on, guys, it's about to go out, then let's get another Zoom link.
So when we got on that, and then I got on the Discord server, and I was like, okay, we need to make a whole server. We need to have all the channels and everything. Like, getting that coordinated was awesome. I'm so glad I was able to do that, so we could have like space to talk, a space to just shoot the shit with everybody, whatever. But
Yeah.
the rehearsal side of it, I think it prepared me a lot because, like Don said earlier, with like positioning cameras and stuff. For me, it's like, okay, where is the props gonna where are the props gonna go? Where is this gonna go? What is this gonna mean? Where is this? How is this poster gonna hang? Right? Because there's some scenes with some posters in some of the houses that we have in the film, and I was when we watched the rough cut, I was looking at some of the posters, and I realized that a lot of them mean a lot more than they lead on to, especially in the house at the beginning, like not at the beginning, but we have a lot of posters, a lot of props, like a lot of just stuff that means a lot more than meets the eye, in my opinion.
Okay.
So it's like the first time people are going to watch this film, I don't think a lot of people are going to notice it. If they watch it a second time, I think they'll start to pick up on that.
So you felt like rehearsals kind of allowed you and the rest of the crew to dig into some of the nuances that'll come to light as the film is watched a couple of times.
Definitely. And it took me a while to figure that out, but once I figured out where I wanted to put props and all that stuff, I think I did okay on that.
Okay. Moving on to probably one of my favorite questions that we have for today. I'm going to direct this one at Bash because I feel like you probably had the biggest challenge with this. But when it comes to the character you played, obviously you played a very intense character, someone that's outside of who you are normally. How do you feel it was in terms of, did you ever bring the character home with you? How did that affect you outside of filming?
Yeah, I very much had to become Arthur. That's a very hard question to answer, really. Everybody that's close to me saw very big changes in me. I was asked by the closest people in my life if I was okay a lot of the time. I did get down to a very unhealthy weight. I was in my 120s, which is very, very, very not healthy. I'm 6 feet tall. Yeah, it was very intense, very quiet, and it actually did affect me with my responsibilities as the president of Marlon Dean Productions, because I wasn't very vocal when I should have been or needed to be, because I was so in character. On set, I was so in character and just trying to perform at peak levels, right? I don't ever want to give these guys, my brothers, my family, I don't want anybody to be embarrassed or feel like I didn't give it my all. So I very much brought the character home all the time, every day. I would talk to myself on the way to my day job every single day in accents, playing around. Think, what would we do right here? Yeah, I very much brought the character home, for sure.
Tying in with Bastian, obviously, Dahson, you worked very closely with him. I'm curious on your take in terms of what it was like with your character and if you took that home. But I'm also curious, as the director, how it was like working with a character like Arthur, with Bastian and everything that you were doing there. I would love to get some thoughts on that as well, what it was like seeing Bastian go through what he went through and taking his character home with him.
Yeah. So, character-wise, I didn't take it home. I literally lived the story, right, for however long we were going. Because as the director, I'm looking at, I'm looking at every single character. I'm looking at every single angle. I'm looking at everything. So I'm fully just enthralled into the story itself. So, yes, the story lived with me nonstop. Me and Bash both wrote the film. But before he hopped on, I had a decent amount of it done. And the biggest character that really started it all, and like the love for the story, actually came from Arthur. And so I had a very, very specific idea of what he was, and I think that really helped Bastian
Mhm.
Did it make it, him suffer a little bit more because of the work that he had to put in? Definitely. Viewing him, looking at Bastian losing all that weight, looking at Bastian, taking nonstop, no, that's not it, Bash, that's not it. Well, you done it before. That's not it. Okay, that take before was him going through that, and for him to still, stick it out and losing all that weight and just feeling unhealthy, but for him to give a performance like he did, I keep telling everybody this. The best acting I've ever seen in person was by my brother, right? It was by Bastian playing that role, Arthur. And, just watching him go through that process was truly, it's like, okay, we're actually making a character that isn't just a normal character anymore. It's a character that's going to really take over screens, and people are going to love it. So he did a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Staying with the actors, Fabricio, I'm going to ask you the same question. I'm really curious. Your character obviously has some heavy moments as well. Was there any aspect of that you took home with you, or that you felt extended beyond the film itself and being on set?
No, yeah. The whole character itself, I actually tried speaking with my friends in my day-to-day life. Tried to use the accent and try to better it, because I had a lot of trouble with the accent.
Okay.
So I tried talking with everyone that I could in my accent and try to better it. And with the emotions and stuff, I watched a lot of videos and movies that were similar to it, because this movie, I've never seen a movie like this. It comes from two different worlds, and you've never seen a movie like this.
So a lot of mental preparation went into it in terms of getting your head right on. Okay.
He killed it.
Yeah, he
He's
did a really good
phenomenal
job.
actor.
I gotta say something real fast, and this is no shot at Fabricio. This dude had us stressing so bad during rehearsals. And there's a phrase in sports. It's called a gamer, and what a gamer means is during practice, they're like making mistakes, or they're just not as good, right? And then all of a sudden in the game, they're like, "Whoa, what the hell? Where did this come from?" He's balling out, 3 touchdowns in one half, right? In football, that's what Fabricio was. Fabricio was like, we were struggling. We had a lot of long nights with him. We would drive out to his house. We would meet at places. We did everything we could to get him prepared. And I mean, the dude's a gamer.
He performed.
Right when the camera's on his face, he balled out. So
quick question on that, because you actually gave me an interesting tangent.
Yeah.
Fabricio, do you feel like this was more rehearsal and preparation, or do you feel like this was more innate, something on your end that kind of clicked in?
I don't know. See, in rehearsals, like they said, there would be some days that I would do amazing, and they're like, okay, we're getting better. But then the next day would be, all right, you just went back to the beginning. And it's like, that happened every single day. Like, all right, getting better? No, that's bad. And stuff like that. Then when I went into the movie, then it's like, I realized, it's like, all right, this is it. This is the time. You got to step up your game.
Okay.
And
moving on. Sorry.
One thing too I'll say is some people break when the camera's on them, and I tell that, there's a lot of actors, right? And then when the camera's in their face, all of a sudden, they're not the same. And so for this guy to go to opposite I've never seen anybody do the opposite effect. So Fabricio, hell of a job, man.
Hell of a job.
That's high praise. Really quickly to move it along, let's hear from the crew. Now, obviously, you guys did not have to take a character home with you, but the recording and the filming process was grueling. I'm sure there were challenges there. So let's start with DeadFox. I'm curious to know what your thoughts were in terms of, not necessarily characters, but did you take the stress home with you at the end of the day when it came to the filming? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I was sick for 2 days while we filmed, so I definitely took a bit of it home with me. But a lot of it, with rehearsals and the filming part, oh hell yeah! I was in my notebook 24/7 when I was at home. The second we got home from a filming day, or when we got from rehearsals, I was writing shit down. I was like, okay, this is how I can do this. This is how I want to do this. This is blah 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 blah. So I did take a lot of it home in the aspect that I was constantly thinking about it.
Okay.
Not that I was taking it home and practicing, but the fact that I had it in my head at all times, from when rehearsals got to the big end and then filming started, it's all I can think about.
Okay.
So I definitely did take a lot of it home.
You're definitely losing sleep over.
Oh yeah, I don't sleep anyway, so it's
Right.
at least I was being productive instead of just not sleeping. But yeah. So.
And Dom, you probably had one of the more physically challenging jobs in this whole process, carrying the rig and everything you went through. Same question, I'm curious, with everything that you went through on the cinematography side, the physical challenges of carrying around that big rig and everything you were doing, how did that follow you home at the end of the day when it came to the filming?
I must say, that followed me to the gym. I had a whole workout routine for just carrying the rig.
Okay.
Because in my own professional lane, I've used gimbals, I've used rigs before. And it's like a lot of times, they're very light. They don't take that much muscle to work around. But this one, it was a big rig. I'll say, post-production, put that bitch right up here.
Yeah, I got you.
Bleep. But
Okay.
it's heavy, so it was, I set up a workout routine that would just make sure I can carry it for a long period of time, and there's this weird like gimbal walk that you have to do just to walk like smooth with it.
Very inspiring.
Yeah.
blow up.
As well as the technical side
Yeah.
of running a rig like that.
Yeah, but besides that, for the most part, when I was in rehearsal, I made sure to like jot down as many notes as I possibly could think of. Everything involved in those scenes that we were going over, to be like, okay, what's going to be the technical side of this? We need what focal length, different angles to get about it, and then also just thinking about on the editor side of like, okay, what colors we're going to use in here, what other like set design of props that we need to put in here to like maybe make this scene pop a little bit more. Just think about all those things, get a jot down in my notes, usually go home, decompress a little bit for a little bit, maybe do a little bit more before I pass out, and then just go about my day and just keep that going until we start filming.
All right. Now, Ty, you were involved with the whole filming process, despite the composer side of things kind of being uninvolved with the actual filming of the movie, but I know you were there with everyone. How did this follow you home? What was your process in terms of the end of the day?
Sure, and yeah, I very much am just the odd man out insofar as, you know, you do the music. You don't really need to be there or do any of this, but it's important. It was important for me to be there to either get inspiration or just, you know, help everyone out and be a team player. How I took it home with me was it was kind of interesting because, you know, again, like you guys are making the film happening. I'm just helping. I'm just an auxiliary unit. I just felt so inspired by everyone because it's like that I'm just a guitar player. You know what I'm saying? Like, and somehow, some way, I'm doing the music for this feature-length film, and I see everyone learning, and I see everyone improving, and that's what I took home with me: is how can I learn, how can I get better? And at the end of the film, I realized, you know, I've come so far, and there's still an ocean's worth of improvement for me to do, because there's no mastering. You don't master music, you don't master filmmaking. Like, what does that even mean? All you can do is just build off what you've done before and get better.
Okay.
With that, Ty, I do want everybody to know how much work you actually did do, because from that little conversation right there, it sounds like you didn't really do anything. You were there every day, whether you were holding a boom or assisting or building sets. You were there the entire time, right? And also, you're not just a guitar player. You're the composer. You're doing the score for a feature-length film. You're a whole hell of a lot better, dude, than you give yourself credit for.
Bastian, after my own heart.
And you're right. You can never master art, right?
Yes.
We're all students
Forever.
the day that we die. But you are a lot better than you give yourself credit for. And I want everybody to know that.
I appreciate you.
I love that. Let's move on to Fabricio, and then we'll move on to. We're going to move on to another question here. So, Fabricio, I know sports aren't your biggest thing, but the question has come up. We're talking about that NFL moment, that moment where you get there, the NFL draft, you realize you've made it. So, in the scope of this film, when we're talking about the process, this is obviously a feature-length film. It's a big process. What was that moment where it clicked in? Was it in rehearsals? Was it during film on set? Where you realized kind of the scope of the project, how big it was, and where you were at?
It was more when we got into the movie and we had to stay in the house. Cause I usually just stay home. I don't usually like go out and stay in other places. So living with you guys and the crew, it was like I realized like, okay, this is a big thing. And also waking up early and then going to bed really late and then waking up early again and going to bed really late. It was
It was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Okay. Let's bounce over here to DeadFox. Same question to you, DeadFox. What was that NFL moment where you realized the scope of the project, where you were at, and how big everything was?
For me, it was really like, okay, the day we woke up, the crew and I, to go get the equipment, when we went down to the rental shop, and I was like, you know, holy shit, this is happening. Like, we've been rehearsing, we've been practicing for, you know, almost a year at that point, and it was like, crap, like, this is about to happen. Like, tomorrow's the day, right? And then we got there, and we started filming, and then probably the biggest moment for me was the last day, that last shot, right across the street from my house. It was like, wow, yeah, it's done, right? That was it. And 10 days went by in a second. It was nuts, and it was crazy. It was so worth it, but I was so tired at the end of that day. But yeah, it was, my moment was definitely like the first morning and the last day.
Okay.
It was crazy.
All right, let's bounce back over to Bastian. We're going to ask you the same question. Where was that it moment, that NFL moment, that big deal? Where was that for you? I know you were involved earlier on, so.
Right. Again, tough one to answer. So I never really had a this is it moment I never really had that moment with this film. My this is it moment was when it was just Dawson and I downstairs at his parents' house writing things. You know, we were writing a different screenplay, and we hear back from very big names. I won't say here, but we're hearing back, and I know that he has more determination, more balls, more drive than any other human being that I've probably ever met. That was when I knew that this was actually going to happen, because I would do anything for him. I knew in that moment. If I had to say a moment for this film specifically, it's when we started casting other people that were really good at acting, or if they didn't really have the resume, they had the it in them. Seeing everybody come together, and building the team mixed with the drive and determination, and this is going to happen with or without you, right? That moment is when it clicked that, okay, yep, weight's dropping. I'll be a freaking pedophile looking dude, I don't care. I'll put myself out there like that. So I just, just gave him out.
Let's bounce off that. Let's hear from Dawson. Obviously, starting this all, you've been involved in it the longest. What was your moment? Where was that moment where you realized what was going on and what you were working on?
I think it's when, for me, probably the writing process. When you're writing and you're not just writing a little short anymore, you're writing a feature. And I've wrote features before. I've wrote a handful, and like Dom said, or not Dom, Bash said, I've been able to write and do a little bit of things with other people for bigger stuff, where going back to that and writing for this and actually acknowledging that we're going to make this ourselves, right? We're not going to rely on selling it or trying to get it seen by anybody. We're going to make this. So probably during that process, and then I had a weird moment the very first day we were filming, like right when we were getting out and started like actually filming. It was like one of those things like, okay, yeah, we're actually here now. Like those, let's see, the time this project started, probably been like 14 months I was working on the project, because I was the first one to work on it. So it took me about 14 months before we actually started filming, give or take, maybe 16 months, I can't remember. But anyway, so when we're actually finally doing it, it's like, wow, we're actually here. It's finally, yeah, and I had no doubt. So I had no doubt at all that we were going to get it done, and yeah, so.
All right. Ty, really quickly, let's talk to you about this. What was your moment being involved with the soundtrack, being involved with the crew? What was your NFL moment where you kind of realized the scope of the project?
I'm thinking of two things. Two things come to mind. One is I had a distinct moment and I didn't have a distinct moment, meaning 9 days of this, and we're going day in and day out, and it's just us. No one's helping us. We are relying on each other, and that's it. That's all we had. So, like any successful NFL team, and it's a team effort, a team is only as good as its weakest link, and a team fires on all cylinders. And if we didn't fire on all cylinders like we did, we would not have been able to make this film. The specific moment is when it's the first week of April, and we're dealing with a blizzard, and then the sun comes out, and now we're getting flooded, and we're dealing with some hella camera problems, and I'm just wet and cold, and I just want to get warm. And it wasn't going to happen anytime soon, because like this was it. Like, you know, we couldn't have, there was no one to bail us out, there was no one to assist us. It was just us. That was it.
Okay. Let's hear from Dom. Same question. Where was that moment for you? What was that moment where it all clicked in?
Honestly, I have two. The first one was probably 7 days into our Kickstarter, where I realized we raised all of our funds. We were clearly over 100% of our asking price.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I was wanting someone to talk about the Kickstarter.
And it was great because it was like, okay, this is getting made, and it's just like, also after that I was just like, how much higher is this going to get? And the thing is,
going, really.
it kept on going, and it gave us a good amount to work with, so we could make this film, and it really helped us out to be able to make this film. But the other one was probably, I would say it was like day 4 or 5. We've had problem after problem. I'm getting like little to no sleep, but it just like, it hit this point of just pure zen. I was just like locked in. I'm like, okay, let's just finish this out, get all the shots that we needed, and then from there, just kept on going.
Okay. I have one quick question for Dawson, and then we'll move to DeadFox for our next question. But bouncing off of that, Dawson, can you give me your thoughts on that day 7 in the Kickstarter? We passed the goal, the Kickstarter is funded. How did that feel? How exciting was it to get to that point? Realize we still have 2 weeks to grind. Mm-hmm. Walk me through the emotions you were feeling as this started as your project. Walk me through how that felt.
Yeah, I'd probably say it went from, no doubt before to right when Kickstarter was launching. It was like, okay, just natural, anxiousness. And then once we reached the funds, then it was like, oh shit, this is it. All right. Yeah, and then we started rolling, and for people that don't even know, we had more money even outside of what was even put in during Kickstarter. So people just kept raising, people just wanted to keep helping, and so for them to, raise as much as we did on Kickstarter, and then even got more funds outside and everything like that. Yeah, what it showed me was the belief that people have in us, right? There's a lot of belief, there's a lot of care, and we truly care for everybody that, was willing to, buy a ticket or do whatever they could, however much money it was, even if it was $1, however much money they could put in to help us, just showed that they believed and they're excited for us as well. So that was the biggest thing. It was a very proud moment to know that, Marlon D Productions is getting to a place where, the community is starting to care. So
yeah, it's great. It's important to remember the people that made all this happen.
Right.
Now, bringing it back to DeadFox, we're going to go into a couple of speed round questions. What was your favorite part of the filming process?
Favorite part of the filming process was just kind of hanging out with everybody. Like, we were we were professional about a lot of stuff, but we were fucking around most of the time. And I just enjoyed making the project with you guys.
All right, let's move on to Dom. What was your favorite part of the process?
My favorite part was when I got the shot. It's just getting the shot. Because there's one scene in particular that we had a couple takes of it, but it was just one that, like, I didn't even fully watch it, but I'm like, this is it. This is the one right here.
Right shot.
Yeah, and then in editing right now, it's the exact one that we chose.
Okay. Ty, what was your favorite part of the process?
It was the food given to us by our very gracious producer, Brendan, and I still talk about that chicken tortellini to this day.
It was really good. It was really good, man.
All right, Dawson, what was your favorite part of the process?
Yeah, I'll probably say the favorite process is actually right now, because during editing process, it's a lot of the rewarding things of, seeing things actually pan out and seeing things get put together. Again, all we did while filming was put a bunch of puzzle pieces, and now the editing is actually us putting those pieces together to create the art, right?
Okay.
So,
Bastian, what about you? What was your favorite part of the process?
Same, watching all of our hard work come to fruition, and also watching everybody's dreams come true. Everybody has always dreamed of being an actor. Making that dream come true for people it's awesome. It's good.
Okay. Fabricio, last person to answer. What was your favorite part of the process?
Meeting new people and making new friends and connections. That was my favorite part.
Okay. All right, we're going to swing back to Ty for this one. Walk me through the decompression process. Like after the film was done, what did you do to get back right and get through the process and all that?
I got sick because I decided to take unfamiliar gross mud that homeless people rummage around in and rub that on my face. So my decompression was health and recovery.
Okay. Dom, we'll bounce to you. What was your decompression process like after the film?
Dude, sleep. All the sleep in the world. That's all I did. Because I just need to rest, relax, get back to 100, and then, again, at least for me, the job wasn't over. It was still onto editing and then editing up the film.
Okay. DeadFox, what was your decompression process like? I know you went down in the middle of the film, but after the film, what was the process like?
So the thing for me was I like to go on drives to clear my head a lot. Like I just go drive around and blast music, and that was the first. Literally, as we got done, I parked my car at my house. I grabbed some water, and then I went on a 4-hour drive. I came home and slept. I woke up, watched a movie, and just kind of hung out. It was just kind of just a chill reset day.
Okay.
I just kind of sat around, did really nothing all day.
All right. Fabricio, what was your decompression process like?
Yeah, I slept a lot and didn't do anything the next day, but it felt weird because we didn't have rehearsal or anything to do. So it was good to be back to my normal life, but it was also weird knowing I thought I was missing something, you know.
Okay. I'm noticing a trend that involves a lot of sleep, but let's move on to Bastian. What was your decompression process like?
So I will never stop dreaming, and I will never stop working towards the goals of Marlon Dean Productions and my goals personally as an artist. But my calm down phase was really just hanging out with my best friend and brother, Dahson, and bouncing off ideas, talking about what happened, what could we have done better, what could we have done different, and just knowing that we really did give it our all. That calming aspect, that fulfilling just feeling, right?
Okay.
That was very, I guess, decompressing for me.
Okay. Dahson, same question to you, and then we'll move on to the next question with you as well, but what was your decompression process like?
yeah, so decompression was probably moving on to the next story. So we're already in the works of making the next film, and so my mindset was decompressing for me is to move on to the next thing for a moment, right? We're still in the editing process, right? But there's a month or so where I had to just focus on what's next, and so that's really relaxing in my mind.
Okay. I'm going to give you the next question as well. Given the ups and downs of the filming process, everything we went through, if you had to give someone going through this for the first time some advice in terms of what would you do going through this for your first time, what would you give some young aspiring film?
Like going through a feature film?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say rehearsal is the biggest thing. You need to prepare not only yourself and your actors, but your crew, and you need to come up with situations like what we were speaking on, the flooding, the just random snow day, right? Things like that where you can't help. What are you going to do in that situation, right? And so I would definitely say rehearsal and preparing yourself to trust your actors when they are going through that flooding and all that they're going to get the job done. They're not going to mess up, and because of that, the only time wasted is the natural causes, and it's nothing because of you or the crew. So,
Ty, let's bounce over to the crew side. What's some advice you'd give a young aspiring filmmaker after going through this?
I would say believe in yourself. Because for me, inevitably, there's going to be a point where you say to yourself, am I good enough for this? Can we actually pull this off? I'm in over my head. And you got to put those thoughts out. You know what I'm saying? Because what this is bigger than me. It's bigger than the individual. I would also stay hydrated and feel your body for when this time comes, because You're going to be balls deep in this, and you're going to be just eating a whole bunch of junk food, and you're going to feel terrible. It's the worst. Dom.
Let's go to Dom. What advice would you give to an aspiring filmmaker going through this process for the first time?
Okay, to follow up that great answer. So first thing, from like a DP cinematographer point of view, shoot a ton of different stuff. Shoot a bunch of different short films, documentaries, YouTube videos, whatever it is. Just shoot a ton of different stuff. That will help you get better, understand different techniques in different situations. So, you know, when it starts to flood, starts to blizzard, every other type of apocalyptic storm hits you all at once, you'll be able to prepare yourself to get the shot, get everything going. Also, elderberry tea with lemongrass, the best combo to keep you healthy during shooting.
I love it.
Also water, drink water.
Bastian, let's ask you the same question. And obviously you went through some method acting process through this process, but what advice would you give either a young filmmaker or a young actor coming into this process for the first time?
Anything that moves you is art. So keep your heart open through the entire process, and make sure that whatever you're doing, it moves you. Also, with that being said, when you're getting yelled at by your director or you're getting critiqued or whatever, don't let it get you down. Let it move you and become better. Always try to be better. You will never be the best when it comes to art. You can become better though. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Don't listen to your family when they tell you that you're not going to do it. Do it for yourself, and just keep your heart open through the entire process.
Okay. Moving on to Fabricio. Same question to you. What advice, coming from an actor, what advice would you give someone starting out in this that wants to act in a feature film, doing the same thing you did for the first time?
See, there's no such thing as over preparing for something, but you have to prepare a lot if you want to bring it to the table. So just practice on your craft. You will never be perfect at it. You're always gonna be learning. So just practice it like anytime you can.
Okay. All right, let's move on to DeadFox, and I'll come back to Fabricio for the next question. DeadFox, what advice would you give to an aspiring filmmaker coming into this, knowing the ups and downs that you guys went through on this project?
Well, one big thing is like, okay, you're gonna fuck up. Like it's gonna happen. It's bound to happen. Like you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna have people scream at you. You're gonna have people say this isn't right. This is not what we wanted. This is blah 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 blah. It's gonna go on, and you're human. You're going to make mistakes. You're gonna fuck up. It's gonna happen. Don't put yourself down for it. Don't get into your head, even though that's way easier said than done for some people. The other half of that is, for me, music is my therapy, right? I always have music with me. I always have a pair of headphones. Have a good backing track, have a good playlist, drink a shit ton of water, and eat right and do your best to sleep right, even though it's not how it went for us. But if you can, do it. But if not, just breathe. You'll make it through it. You're bound to make mistakes.
Okay. Fabricio, moving into some personal thoughts on it. What does this film mean to you? And looking back on this film 5 to 10 years from now, how do you think you'll feel about everything that was done?
It'll probably be my favorite movie from ever, since my first feature film. So it always have a place in my heart, because these guys gave me the opportunity to actually pursue my dreams more than I had.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Bastian, let's move on to you. What did the film mean to you, and how do you feel like you'll look back on it in 5 to 10 years?
I personally, so 3 Left Turns itself, I think is a phenomenal story. It's multiple different worlds with multiple different levels. It's incredible. It is pure art. I honestly, I don't say this very often, but I do actually love everything about this specific film. Everything, every aspect. And then also, with that being said, us as a company, we created that with little to no help. We did everything. We did everything from start to finish.
Okay.
So I know for a fact any project that comes our way, any obstacle that comes our way, this is proof that we can overcome it together, and we will be successful, and we will create phenomenal art.
All right. Dawson, we're running low on time. Let's move on to you for this question. What did the film mean to you personally, and in 5 to 10 years, how are you going to look back on this film? How do you think that'll change?
Yeah, I would say, to me personally, it would be a big stepping stone. I think it was going from the short films to now we're doing the feature film and everything like that. I would say it was a big stepping stone towards something that I know what we're going to be doing, the rest of our lives. And so, in 5 to 10 years, I'm going to look back at this and be grateful for the opportunity to, have all of us be able to accomplish this. And then having a stepping stone as big as we did and do it as well as we did, I'm going to be very thankful for all of that. And so, I'm just super pumped to see this down the line as something of a birth of what can be for Marlon Dean.
All right, DeadFox, moving over to the crew side. What did the film mean to you, and how do you think you'll look back on it here in 5 to 10 years?
It meant a lot to me. It still does. I'm not saying it doesn't. I've always wanted to. This is something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to create content. I mean, obviously, I'm a YouTuber. I do all the social media stuff, but filming and filmmaking has been a huge part of my life since I was like 8 years old. Right. I got my first camera when I was like 6. My mom let me use hers, and I messed around with it. I make little videos with it, and then I started doing YouTube. I took film classes all throughout high school. So this being the stepping stone into what I hope to be a career it means everything to me. I can't even put it into words any better than I just did.
All right. Dom, same question to you. What did the film mean to you personally, and how do you feel you'll look back on it in 5 to 10 years?
Honestly, for me, this film is just another thing that I was a part of to be able to create. My thing is I've always loved creating different things. Pretty much since I've been born, I've had a camera in my hand, doing some type of video, photo, something along those lines. And this is another step onto just my journey of just creating more stuff. I want to look back on this film just to see the different things that we've accomplished with this film. Just even now, to this point of just having everyone together, just what I've seen just with a rough draft, I'm already blown away by it and just ready to see what the next thing is we're going to be creating.
Okay. Ty, really quickly, what did this film mean to you, and how do you think you'll look back on it in 10 years' time?
When I'm an old man, and when my life is up, and I'm looking at the story of my life, I'm going to view this as a pivotal chapter of my life, a chapter of I've grown, and I've conquered a lot of my own past demons, and looking forward to what opportunities this is going to bring. And in 5 to 10 years' time, I just hope I can look back and just see my own growth and how much better I'll be then compared to now, and how much I can just improve over that time.
Now let's go back to DeadFox for this one. I'd like to end on Dawson for this last question. But DeadFox, looking back at the film, what do you hope people will take out of this film when they watch it for the first time, or the second time as they go through and this film is hitting the public?
I really hope people take out of it and understand how much we put into it, I guess. I hope they'll take out what we put in, because, I mean, it's almost been a year since we started, like, the first table read, like, the first looking at the script. The real thing I hope that people take out of it is that this part, like, this version of life that we portray in the film is real, and it's just hard. People are living this type of life, and I hope that people can get out of this type of life. I just hope that people pick up that you're not alone.
Okay.
And like the art aspect, I guess.
All right. Fabricio, what do you hope people take out of this film when they see it for the first time and they watch what you've done?
I want people to be inspired that if we could do it, they can do it too. And they can follow their dreams, and they can make anything great happen.
Okay. Dom, what would you hope that people get out of this film as they're watching what you've created?
Well, we want to give the message of just the film itself, understand the story, just to realize that this does portray and just that life they live, but also just enjoying the story of the film and just actually deconstructing it, understanding the different messages that is in there, and understanding it. That's what I want them to take away from it.
Okay. Bastian, as assistant director, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you hope people will take from the film. What are your thoughts?
So the film itself, I would love for our fans, family, friends, I would love for everybody to know that real life does suck. You will be put in very crappy situations, but you always have a choice to make the right choice, the right decision, and to follow a path, even though it might be a path with more resistance, to follow a good path, to live a good life. Stay away from drugs, kids. Stay the hell away from drugs. Stay away from creepy guys. And also, yes, follow your dreams. Follow your damn dreams. I should not be here right now, but I am. Follow your dreams, and you can do anything that you want.
Tyler, same question to you. What do you hope people take from this film?
I hope what people take from this is that Utah is this bubbling hub of artistry and talent. And I feel very fortunate to live here because we just have such majestic, scenic things that like it's wild to me that in my backyard I can go climb a mountain and be inspired by that. And I really think the scenery inspires the people, and that's why I think Utah is this hub of talent and artistry that really hasn't really exploded yet.
Okay. Love everything so far. We're going to end this where we started it. We're going to come back to our very talented director, Dahson. Dahson, one final note. What do you hope people take from this film that you've created?
Yeah, I would take this. I would say not only just saying the things, right, saying you're going to do something, right, trying to manifest it that way as well. If you actually work hard, it's crazy enough, you will get it done. That's the biggest thing I hope people take from this. Isn't the storyline. People will take the storyline however which way they want it, right? There's a lot of different ways you can, take it surface level or at the depth. My thing is I want people to take it as an inspiration that if you want to work at something, okay, and you want to talk about manifesting something, okay, it does take a lot of work. It takes a ridiculous amount of work. But if you're doing it and you care about it, it doesn't feel that way, right? Sometimes there's tough moments, even with your passion, but you have to be willing to get dirty, get your hands dirty, whatever, in order for you to actually make it. And that's what I hope people take from it is you got to work hard for you to be able to actually talk about and manifest the things that you want in life. And if you do, you will make it and you'll be just like us talking how we are.
That's my brother.
All right. Well, guys, that's a wrap on our table talk here for 3 Left Turns. I'm so grateful for everyone that tuned in. I appreciate all of you guys' support as well as the rest of these guys. They can't tell you how much they appreciate the support that you guys have given us. We can't wait to see you guys at the premiere, but that's all we have for today. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.